Okay, at this point, we're going to move on to our next speaker, Cassie Kozyrkov. So Cassie is the chief data scientist at Google. You all might have seen her posts on LinkedIn and Medium and Twitter. She's basically on a mission to democratize decision intelligence and safe, reliable AI. She's provided guidance on more than 100 projects and designed Google's analytics program, personally training over 20,000 Googlers in statistics, decision-making, and machine learning. All right, without further ado, here's Cassie.
Hi friends, I'm Cassie Kozyrkov, and I am delighted to join you today for the DATAcated conference to talk to you about how to wrestle inherited data. And if you leave this talk right now and you only take one thing away from it, remember this. Inherited data are easier to get, but they are harder to trust. And that should color your entire approach to them. Okay, still here? What are inherited data? They're also called secondary data. And the thing about them is that you inherit them. In other words, these are data that are not yours, that you did not collect. Primary data, on the other hand, are the ones that you design and control the data collection process for. So in other words, you custom make those data sets for your needs. Primary data is about control and quality. Unfortunately, quality and control does come at a price, so there's a bit of a tug of war there. I like to say that inherited datasets are a bit like inherited toothbrushes. An act of desperation. You'd always prefer to get your own toothbrush and dataset. But because primary data can be really expensive to collect, and because the world is collecting so much data, there's a lot of opportunity to go and find beautiful inspiration in datasets that you didn't create. But don't assume that inherited data will yield anything useful. It might not, that's the reality of it. And while we're on the topic of sad things, the tooth fairy is not real. So you got hold of an inherited dataset, cool. Should you even bother with it? Well, ask yourself these 5 questions. First, what was the purpose for which it was collected? And the further away that purpose is from your purpose, the more you should steel yourself for potential disappointment. 2, competence. How competent were the people who collected it? Do you trust them not to have entered a bunch of nonsense, a bunch of errors? They were supposed to put in a 15, did they put in a 13? Watch out for that. Do you trust them? Do you trust their data collection? Number 3, agenda. Do these people have some kind of agenda, which means that their personal biases might get into the data and might lead you down the wrong track as well. Number 4, clarity. How clear is the documentation? How available are the people who made that data in the first place? Can you ask them questions, or do you have to rely on their notes? Were their notes written clearly with the expectation that someone was going to inherit that data? That's going to change the equation in terms of how much you can expect to get out of these data. And then finally 5, processing. Do you trust the data not to have been transformed, skewed, messed around with in some way that is going to destroy its ability to help you with your needs? And once you've checked those 5 things and you're tempted to get into the data, what you will do first is split your data. You always do that. Some for exploration and then some for rigorous testing later. And you only explore the exploratory bit. Now with that exploratory bit, as you're getting into it, think about it not just as data in a database, a spreadsheet, or whatever, but you have to imagine what actually happened when those data were collected. And the fuzzier your view of that, the more rubbishy your assumptions are going to be. That's related to the amount of expertise and experience that you have with that data domain. So if you know nothing about the domain, please tread lightly and don't take yourself too seriously. Explore and sanity check your data. Spend a long time with the documentation. Own the assumptions that you're being forced to make, and then downgrade your conclusions if you don't have a lot of expertise and real-world understanding of what actually went down when those data were collected. This isn't about perfectionism. It is perfectly all right to aim to improve your imperfect understanding of the world. But you should be honest with yourself and others about how much it is that you think you know. Inherited data are amazing. Our world is enjoying an unprecedented abundance of data. There's so much information. It can be so interesting and useful and helpful. as long as you treat it correctly and don't take things seriously that don't deserve to be taken seriously. So here's my advice. Remember that inherited data are easier to get, and there's so many great things about that. But they are, and should be, harder to trust. Good luck, have fun, allow yourself to enjoy and take advantage of that amazing abundance of data that the world is collecting. But be sure that you don't allow it to take advantage of you.